My fiancé cheated on our wedding day, and before the last guest could even whisper my name, the Charleston Mafia king was standing where my groom should have been. Have you ever trusted someone so deeply that their betrayal didn't just break your heart? It made you question every version of yourself Ava Hart had. She stood in a cathedral dressed in white silk, her hands shaking her father waiting to give her away, while the man she loved hid behind a locked door with her best friend. But this isn't just a story about heartbreak. It's about what happens when a woman with nothing left to lose is offered revenge by the most dangerous man in the city. Stay until the end, because one choice at the altar changes everything. Like this video and comment where you're watching from. 10 minutes before Ava Hart said yes to the wrong groom, she was alone beneath St. Augustine's Cathedral, sitting in a bridal suite that smelled like dying flowers and expensive panic. The room was too warm. The air conditioner rattled in the narrow window like it was losing a fight. Gardenias drooped in crystal vases along the vanity, their sweet perfume turning thick and sour beneath the sharp cloud of hairspray. Someone had left a half-full glass of champagne beside a plate of untouched fruit, but the bubbles had gone flat, and the strawberries looked bruised at the edges. Ava sat very still in front of the mirror. Her wedding dress filled the chair, the floor, the room. White satin, pearl buttons, lace sleeves. A train long enough to make her feel less like a bride and more like evidence at a crime scene. The bodice pressed into her ribs with every breath. The seamstress had called it structure. Ethan's mother had called it timeless. Ava called it a cage, but only in her head because good brides did not complain after the deposit had been paid. She stared at her reflection and tried to recognize the woman looking back. The makeup artist had done beautiful work. Soft brown shadow rose-colored lips, a faint glow along her cheekbones. Her dark hair had been pinned into a careful twist at the nape of her neck, each curl held in place by enough metal to survive a hurricane. The veil waited on the back of the chair light as mist, innocent as a lie. Ava lifted her hand and touched the diamond ring on her left finger. It was pretty enough. Not large, not small, set in white gold with tiny stones around the center diamond. Ethan had been nervous when he gave it to her on the Battery with the harbor shining behind him and tourists pretending not to watch. He had dropped to one knee at sunset, his voice breaking as he said she was his calm place, the only person who made his life feel possible. She had believed him. That was the part that hurt before she even knew why. Ava had always been good at believing the best version of people. It was not innocence, exactly. She was 29 years old and worked as a marketing strategist for a boutique agency downtown. She knew how to read a room, how to turn a weak product into a desirable story, how to make strangers trust a brand they had never heard of before breakfast. She knew charm could be manufactured. She knew people could sell anything with the right lighting and the right words. But with Ethan, she had wanted not to know. He had been handsome in the easy Charleston way. Sun-warmed skin, clean smile, sandy hair that always looked wind-touched even indoors. He sold luxury properties along the coast and wore confidence like a tailored jacket. At charity events, he remembered names, held doors, kissed older women on the cheek, and made waiters feel seen. Her mother had adored him. Her father had said Ethan looked a man in the eye when he shook his hand, which apparently still counted for something. Lily had loved him too. Ava swallowed. Lily Mercer should have been in the bridal suite. She should have been fixing Ava's veil, complaining about the champagne, making some joke about running away before Ava became Mrs. Brooks. Lily had been Ava's best friend since middle school, since braces and bad haircuts and cafeteria lunches eaten outside because Lily said fluorescent lights made everyone look tragic. They had shared clothes, secrets, hangovers, apartments, grief. That morning, Ava had given Lily a bracelet, gold, delicate, with a tiny pearl charm. For always, Ava had said. Lily had cried when she put it on. Ava looked toward the closed door. The hallway beyond it was quiet, except for the distant swell of the organ above. Notes drifted down through the old bones of the cathedral, soft and grand and merciless. Any minute now someone would knock. Her father would offer his arm. Her mother would cry before the doors even opened. Ethan would be waiting at the altar with that smile, the one that made people forgive him before he asked. Ava pressed 2 fingers against her temple. A headache had been building behind her left eye since morning. There had been signs, little ones small enough to step over if you were determined not to look down. Ethan taking phone calls on the balcony, his voice dropping when she entered the room. Lily canceling dinner twice in the same week, then showing up distracted checking her phone under the table. Ethan suddenly insisting on paying for wedding upgrades they had agreed were unnecessary, then getting defensive when Ava asked where the money was coming from. "Real estate has been good this quarter, babe." He had said it so easily. And she had wanted easy. After years of making every hard choice herself, easy had felt like love. Ava's parents loved each other, but money had always been a third person at their dinner table. Her father worked construction until his back gave out. Her mother managed the front desk at a dental office and clipped coupons with religious devotion. Ava had built her life one careful step at a time. Scholarship, internship, full-time job, better apartment, better wardrobe, better manners for rooms where people could smell insecurity. Ethan had seemed like a rival. Not rich, not exactly, but polished. Stable, promising. He talked about 5-year plans. He sent flowers to her office. He said things like our future with such casual certainty that Ava let herself rest inside the words. She stopped sleeping with her phone under her pillow. She stopped expecting every good thing to come with a hidden bill. A soft knock touched the door. Ava straightened. Her mother peeked in cheeks, flushed pearl earrings swinging. "There you are, Denise," Hart said, as if Ava had been missing from the room where everyone had left her. "Oh, honey, look at you." Ava smiled because the expression was expected. "Is everything okay upstairs?" "Everything is beautiful. The flowers are perfect. The cake is leaning a little, but only from the back, so nobody important will notice." Denise moved behind her and fussed with one curl that did not need fussing. "Your father is pretending he isn't emotional, which means he is seconds from weeping in public." That almost made Ava laugh. "Have you seen Lily Denise's hands?" Paused for half a second. "She was around here somewhere. Maybe checking on the bridesmaids. And Ethan. Probably with his groomsmen." Denise met Ava's eyes in the mirror. "Nerves are normal. Cold feet are normal. Second thoughts are normal. I'm not having second thoughts." The answer came too quickly. Her mother leaned down and kissed the top of her head, careful not to disturb the pins. "You do not have to be perfect today. You only have to be present." Ava wanted to say that present was the problem. She was too present. Too aware of the weight of the dress, the heat of the room, the silence where Lily should have been. Too aware of the strange hollow beneath her breastbone that had been growing all morning. Instead, she said, "I need a minute." Denise studied her mother's eyes, sharp beneath soft makeup. Then she nodded. 1 minute. Then your father comes down, and we begin." The door clicked shut behind her. Ava stood immediately. The dress resisted heavy and stubborn around her legs. She gathered the skirt in both hands and moved toward the door, satin whispering against the floor. Her shoes were already hurting, ivory pumps with pointed toes and thin heels, beautiful in the box, cruel on human feet. She stepped into the basement hallway. The light changed at once. Inside the bridal suite, everything had been warm and golden. Out here, the cathedral basement looked tired. Beige walls scuffed trim old-framed notices about fire exits and volunteer schedules. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead with a faint electric tremor. Somewhere behind the walls, pipes groaned. Ava moved slowly, one hand brushing the wall for balance. The groomsmen's room was around the corner near the stairs. She had been told not to see Ethan before the ceremony, but she did not care. Tradition seemed small compared to the pressure closing around her throat. She needed to see his face. She needed his hand on her shoulder, his voice saying, "You're overthinking Av. We're good. We're us." Then she heard the laugh, low, muffled, cut short. Ava stopped. For a second she thought it had come from upstairs, some guest leaning too close to another in the pews, some private joke traveling through vents and stone. Then came a breathless sound, sharp and intimate. Her fingers tightened in the dress. There was a storage closet beside the floral prep room. Ava had passed it earlier when the coordinator led her downstairs. The door was old wood painted cream with a brass knob and a small sign that read supplies. Now it stood open by an inch. Ava did not move. Her body knew before her mind allowed it. The hallway seemed to lengthen. The organ above held a long note, then faded. Ava could hear her own pulse in her ears, thick and slow. She should have turned around. She should have gone back to the bridal suite, sat in the chair, smiled for pictures, walked toward the life she had planned. Instead, her feet carried her forward. One small step, then another. A warm draft slipped through the crack in the door. It smelled like bleach. Wet mop water, cedarwood cologne, and vanilla sugar body spray. Lily's body spray. Ava closed her eyes. Inside, Ethan whispered, "We've got 5 minutes." Lily's voice followed, breathy and nervous. "Your bride is upstairs." Ethan laughed softly. "Then she can wait." The sentence did not cut Ava open. It emptied her. There was a small mercy in shock. For one clean second, she felt nothing at all. No rage, no grief, no embarrassment. Only a strange, distant curiosity, as if she had stumbled onto a scene in someone else's life and needed a moment to understand the casting. She leaned closer. Through the crack, she saw Ethan's hand braced against a shelf stacked with folded linens. His cuff was undone. His hair was loose at the front, not in the careful style she had watched him fix that morning. Lily's back pressed against the wall. Blush pink satin wrinkled at her hips, one hand gripping his shoulder. The gold bracelet Ava had given her flashed beneath the naked bulb. Ava's stomach lurched. That did it. Not the whispers, not the bodies, not Ethan's low groan against Lily's neck. The bracelet. For always. Ava stepped back. Her heel struck the tile with the faintest click. Inside the closet, Lily gasped. What was that? Ethan went still. Ava did not wait to be discovered. She turned and walked away with the measured care of someone carrying a glass filled to the rim. Her whole body shook, but her steps remained silent. She passed the floral prep room, the water fountain, the framed evacuation map. Every detail arrived with brutal clarity. A brown stain near the baseboard, a crushed gardenia petal on the floor, the loose thread on her left sleeve, the fact that she could still smell vanilla. She reached the bridal suite and closed the door behind her. The lock turned with a hard click. Only then did she bend forward, both hands gripping the vanity. Her mouth filled with saliva. She thought she might vomit. Nothing came. The mirror caught her again. Ava Hart bride, rose lips, pearl buttons, soft cheekbones, expensive dress, perfect hair, a woman arranged for public consumption. She stared until the image blurred. 3 years compressed inside her chest. Ethan cooking pasta badly in her apartment and making her laugh anyway. Ethan holding her hand during her father's surgery. Ethan calling her at midnight from a work trip because he said hotel rooms made him lonely. Lily helping Ava choose invitation fonts. Lily joking that if Ethan ever hurt her, she would bury him in the marsh. Ava made a sound that was almost a laugh. It came out wrong. A tear slipped down her face, hot and humiliating, dragging mascara with it. A black line cut through the makeup artist's careful work. Ava watched it fall. She did not wipe it away. Not yet. Some part of her wanted the damage visible. Some part of her wanted everyone to see that something sacred had been ruined before she was asked to pretend it was whole. A knock came at the door. Ava. Her father's voice, gentle, proud, terrified of becoming emotional. "Sweetheart, you ready?" Ava stared at herself for 5 seconds, then 10. She picked up a tissue, wet it with her tongue, and scrubbed the mascara from her cheek until the skin burned pink. Her voice, when it came, sounded flat and unfamiliar. "Yes, Daddy, I'm ready." The door opened. Frank Hart stood in the hall wearing a rented black tuxedo that did not quite fit across the shoulders. He had shaved carefully but missed one small patch near his jaw. His eyes shone when he saw her. "Oh, Ava," he whispered. She almost broke then. Not because of Ethan, because her father still believed this was a good day. Frank offered his arm. "You look beautiful, kid." Ava slipped her hand through the crook of his elbow. "Thank you." They climbed the stairs together. The closer they came to the sanctuary, the louder the world became. Organ music, shifting guests, a baby fussing somewhere near the back, the low murmur of 200 people waiting for a woman in white to perform happiness. At the closed cathedral doors, the wedding coordinator smiled with professional brightness. "Perfect timing," she whispered. "Everyone is ready." Ava looked at the heavy wood doors. She wondered how many women had stood in this exact place and mistaken surrender for devotion. Her father patted her hand. Nervous Ava looked straight ahead. No. The doors opened. Light spilled over her. 200 faces turned. For one breath, the cathedral was beautiful enough to be cruel. Stained glass threw pieces of red and blue across the stone floor. Candles burned in tall gold holders along the aisle. White flowers spilled from the pews. The ceiling rose high and ribbed above them, making every sound feel holy. At the end of the aisle stood Ethan Brooks, her groom, her liar. He looked perfect. Black tuxedo, polished shoes, white boutonniere, sandy hair swept back into place. His smile bloomed when he saw her, practiced and tender, the kind of smile that had once made her feel chosen. Beside the bridesmaids, Lily stood in blush pink with her hands folded at her waist. Her lips were too red. Her bracelet shone beneath the candlelight. Ava walked. Her father's arm was warm beneath her fingers. Her shoes bit into her toes. The dress dragged behind her like a sentence. Every step down the aisle became a small act of violence against the part of her that wanted to run. Ethan's eyes softened as she approached. He was good. That was the sickest part. He knew how to look in love. When they reached the altar, Frank kissed Ava's cheek. His lips trembled. "Love you," he whispered. Ava held on to him for half a second too long. "Love you too." Then he gave her away. The phrase had always bothered her in theory. Now it made her want to laugh until the cathedral cracked. Ethan took her hands. His palms were warm, slightly damp. "You're shaking," he whispered. Ava looked down at their joined hands. Those hands had touched Lily minutes ago. Ethan leaned closer. "You look incredible." His cologne hit her. Cedarwood and citrus. Beneath it, faint but unmistakable vanilla sugar. Ava lifted her eyes to his. For the first time, she did not see the man she had loved. She saw the machinery beneath him. The polished smile, the calculated softness, the small crease between his brows because her face was not doing what he expected. He squeezed her fingers. "Ava." The priest began to speak. "Dearly beloved, marriage, covenant, faithfulness." Ava heard the words as if from underwater. Her focus narrowed to the microphone clipped near the priest's collar. A tiny black device. Ordinary, unremarkable, powerful enough to carry a whisper through the whole cathedral. Ethan's thumb stroked the back of her hand. She nearly flinched. The priest turned a page. "If anyone here knows any reason these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, let them speak now or forever hold their peace." It was meant to be ceremonial. A pause no one used, a pretty antique before the vows. The silence opened. Ava stepped into it. "I have a reason." Her voice was not loud. It did not need to be. The microphone caught it and sent it rolling through the cathedral, clear as broken glass. The organist hit the wrong note. A sour chord trembled in the air and died. Ethan blinked. What Ava pulled her hands from his. "I have a reason," she repeated. The priest stared at her, mouth parted. Behind them, the guests began to shift. Ethan lowered his voice. "Ava, stop." She turned toward the congregation. Her mother's hand flew to her mouth. Her father rose halfway from the front pew. Lily had gone completely still. Ava looked at her best friend, at the bracelet. Then she leaned slightly toward the priest's microphone. "My fiancé was in a storage closet 10 minutes ago with my maid of honor." A gasp moved through the church like wind through dry leaves. Ava did not stop. "Her vanilla perfume is still on him. My bracelet is still on her wrist. And both of them thought I would walk down this aisle too stupid to notice." Lily made a small, wounded sound as if Ava had betrayed her by saying it aloud. Ethan's face changed. The softness vanished first. Then the color. Then the mask cracked wide enough for Ava to see the anger underneath. "You're insane," he hissed. Ava faced him. "No, I'm awake." He grabbed her wrist, hard. The pressure snapped something final inside her. "You're ruining everything," he whispered through clenched teeth. Ava looked at his fingers digging into her skin, then back at his face. For 3 years she had mistaken his ambition for strength, his charm for kindness, his need for admiration for love. She spoke softly. "No, Ethan. I'm returning it to you." The cathedral doors slammed open. The sound struck the stone walls like a gunshot. Every head turned. Cold air swept down the aisle carrying rain-expensive leather and the sudden silence of men who recognized danger before they saw its face. Ethan released Ava's wrist. His terror arrived before the man did. The man came in as if the church had been built for his arrival. 4 men crossed the threshold of St. Augustine's Cathedral, but only one of them seemed to change the air. The others wore black suits and quiet faces, their hands low, their eyes moving over the pews with a calm that felt more frightening than panic. They did not look like guests. They looked like consequences. The man in front moved slowly down the aisle. He was tall, broad through the shoulders, dressed in a black suit cut so precisely it made Ethan's tuxedo look borrowed. His dark hair was combed back from a face made of hard lines and colder patience. No smile, no rush, no wasted motion. The murmurs in the cathedral faded one by one. Ava felt Ethan's fingers disappear from her wrist. She looked at him and saw something she had never seen before. Not guilt, not shame, terror. His lips parted. His throat worked. All the color had drained from his face, leaving him gray beneath the stained glass light. "No," Ethan whispered. "No, no, not here." The man kept walking. Every step landed soft against the red carpet. Somehow that was worse than heavy footsteps. Ava could hear the creak of the pews as people shifted away from the aisle. She could hear her mother crying under her breath. She could hear Lily breathing too fast behind her. The man stopped at the altar. Up close, he was even more impossible to ignore. His eyes were dark, nearly black, and they did not sweep the room looking for approval. They settled directly on Ethan. "Ethan Brooks," he said. His voice was low and even polished at the edges, but there was gravel underneath it. Ethan tried to smile. It died before it became anything. "Roman," he said. "This is not the place." The name moved through the first rows like a match dropped into dry grass. Roman DeLuca. Ava knew the name in the way most people in Charleston knew it. Not from introductions. Not from newspapers, not exactly. From whispers, from waterfront rumors, from business owners who suddenly got permits approved, from developers who stopped speaking when his black cars rolled up outside a restaurant, from men like Ethan who laughed too loudly at stories about him but never said his name above a murmur. Roman removed one black leather glove, finger by finger. "This church seems fitting," he said. "A man should confess where God can hear him." The priest took one step back. Ethan lifted both hands slightly, palms out, a pathetic gesture of peace. "I can fix this." Roman looked at him for a long second. "You said that in March." Ethan swallowed. "I needed time. You had time. I needed more." Roman's face remained still. "You stole from me." The words landed softly, but the room reacted as if he had fired a gun. Ava turned toward Ethan. For a moment, betrayal rearranged itself inside her, the closet. Lily, the wedding, the lie of love, all of it had felt complete, like a house collapsing. Now Roman had opened a door beneath the rubble, and there was another room under it. Darker, deeper. Ethan shook his head quickly. It was not stealing. It was a delay in transfer, a liquidity issue. Roman glanced at one of his men. The man stepped forward and handed him a slim black folder. Roman opened it with the same calm someone might use to check a dinner bill. 3 holding companies, 2 false invoices, 7 inflated property contracts tied to waterfront development, 1 offshore account in the Caymans under your mother's maiden name. Ethan made a strangled sound. Roman looked up. "You moved $2.8 million out of a DeLuca-controlled development fund and used it to buy an image. The condo, the car, the watches, this wedding." Ava's mouth went dry. Her eyes went to the flowers lining the aisle, hundreds of white roses and gardenias tied with silk ribbon. Roman followed her gaze. "Yes," he said. "The flowers, too." Ava felt something inside her tilt. She looked at the ring on her finger. Roman noticed. His gaze dropped to it, and for the first time his expression changed. Not much. Only the faintest curl at the corner of his mouth. "And the ring," he said. "That is unfortunate." Ethan stepped toward him. One of Roman's men moved half an inch. Ethan stopped. "Roman, please," he said, voice breaking. "I was going to pay it back. After the wedding, after gifts came in, after the condo sale closed, I had a plan." "A plan," Roman repeated. "It was temporary. You stole from my family and invited half of Charleston to watch you marry a woman with my money on her hand?" Ethan looked at Ava then. Not with apology, with accusation, as if somehow she had caused the room to turn against him by existing in it. "Ava," he said, desperate now, Tell him this is a mistake." She stared at him. 3 years, and he still thought she was a shield he could raise when the bullets came. "Which part?" she asked. His face tightened. Roman turned his head slightly toward her. The weight of his attention hit like a hand at the back of her neck. Ava should have looked away. She did not. Roman studied her ruined cheek, the red mark on her wrist, the way her fingers had curled into fists at her sides. He looked at her like he was reading a contract no one else knew existed. "You are the bride," he said. Ava's laugh came out small and sharp. "I was." Something flickered in his eyes. "Were you aware of his debt? No. His fraud? No. His affair?" Ava looked past him at Lily. Lily flinched as if struck. Ava looked back at Roman. "I became aware 10 minutes ago." The corner of Roman's mouth moved again. This time it almost became a smile. "And you announced it in front of everyone." "He gave me the truth," Ava said. "I gave it a microphone." The silence after that was different, not empty. Listening. Roman held her gaze for another breath, and Ava had the strange feeling that something inside him had shifted into place. Ethan sensed it too. "No," he said quickly. "Do not talk to her. She is upset. She is humiliated. She does not know what she is saying." Ava turned slowly. Ethan stepped back from the look on her face. Roman did not. He closed the folder. Humiliation can clarify a person. Ethan fell to his knees. The movement shocked the room more than Roman's entrance had. His perfect tuxedo bent at the creases. His polished shoes scraped the stone floor near the altar. His hands clasped together, trembling. "Please," Ethan said. "Give me a week. I can sell the car. I can borrow. I can make calls." Roman looked bored now. "The car is already mine. The condo is over-leveraged. Your accounts are flagged. Your friends are poorer than they pretend to be." Ethan's mouth opened and closed. Roman leaned down slightly. "You are bankrupt, Ethan. Financially, morally, creatively." A nervous, horrified sound passed through the guests. Ava could not tell if it was a sob or a laugh. Ethan's mother stood in the front row, one hand pressed against her chest, her face twisted with outrage and fear. "This is a church," she said weakly. Roman did not look at her. "So was the closet," he said. Ava heard Lily begin to cry. The sound did nothing to her. That frightened Ava more than she expected. Roman straightened and adjusted the cuff of his shirt. His cufflink caught the light silver flashing like a blade. "I came for a debt," he said, "but I seem to have found something more useful." Ava's spine stiffened. Roman turned fully toward her. Behind him, Ethan still knelt on the floor, breathing like a trapped animal. Roman said, "I need a wife." Ava blinked once. The words were so absurd that for a second they could not enter her mind. "I'm sorry." "No," Roman said. "You are not." Ava almost hated that he was right. Roman stepped closer, stopping just beyond the reach of her dress. "My grandfather controls the final trusts tied to our port contracts. He is old-fashioned in ways that are inconvenient and occasionally medieval. He believes a man without a wife is a man without discipline, without roots, without legacy." Ava's eyes narrowed. "That sounds like your problem." "It is." "Then why are you looking at me? Because you have a problem too." Ava glanced at Ethan. Roman followed the glance. "Him," Roman said. "The public ruin. The debt attached to a life you almost entered. The humiliation that will follow you into every grocery store, every office, every family dinner where someone lowers their voice when you walk in." Ava hated him for saying it cleanly. She hated him more because he was right. Roman continued. "My grandfather arrives tomorrow night. I require a wife before then. Not a mistress, not an actress, not one of the women in my world who would sell their souls for a diamond and ask for a larger one by morning." Ava's heartbeat was loud now. "You want to marry me? I want an arrangement. On my wedding day. Your wedding appears to be available." A stunned sound moved through the cathedral. Ethan lifted his head. "You cannot be serious." Roman did not even look at him. Ava stared at Roman, trying to find the crack in his composure, the joke, the hidden cruelty that would make this easier to reject. There was cruelty in him, yes, but it was not hidden. It stood in the open with its hands clean and its eyes steady. "What is the arrangement?" Ava asked. Her father said her name from the front row. "Ava." She did not look at him. If she did, she might become his daughter again. The little girl with scraped knees and a backpack too large for her shoulders. The woman he wanted to protect from the world. But the world had already found her. Roman said, "1 year. You take my name. You attend family dinners, public events, charity galas, whatever is required. You convince Vincent DeLuca that our marriage is not a transaction. It is a transaction. Yes. And after 1 year, you leave with enough money to never depend on another man again." Ava's lips parted. Roman spoke as if discussing weather. "I clear any debts attached to your name. I establish a trust for you. I provide housing security and legal protection. No one connected to Ethan touches you. No one connected to me touches you without my permission." Her skin prickled. "That is not as comforting as you think it is. I am not trying to comfort you." At least he was honest. Ava looked at Ethan. He was staring at her with wide, pleading eyes. Not because he loved her. Not because he understood what he had destroyed. Because her refusal might save him from the full weight of Roman's attention. Lily had both hands over her mouth. The bracelet glimmered against her wrist. Ava imagined walking out alone, going home to the condo with Ethan's name on the lease, finding his shirts, his coffee mug, his lies folded into every drawer. She imagined the phone calls, the pity, the whispered questions. Did she know? How could she not know? Poor Ava. Beautiful wedding, though. Then she imagined Roman DeLuca taking Ethan apart piece by piece. It should have horrified her. Some of it did. Not enough. Ava lifted her chin. No physical requirement. Roman's eyes sharpened. "Say it plainly. You do not touch me unless I allow it." A flicker of approval crossed his face. Agreed. Separate rooms. Agreed. No lies behind closed doors. If I am in danger, I know it. If your family plans to use me, I know it. If this marriage turns me into a target, you say so. Roman watched her in silence. The cathedral seemed to hold its breath around them. Then he said, "Agreed." Ethan pushed himself upright, panic making him clumsy. "Ava, listen to yourself. This is insane. You cannot marry him." She looked down at him. "You were comfortable marrying me while lying to my face. That is different." "Yes," Ava said. "This man is telling me exactly what he wants." Ethan's face crumpled. "You are doing this to hurt me." Ava gave him a long, quiet look. "No, that is just the first honest benefit." Roman extended his hand. His palm was bare now, large, steady, marked with faint scars along the knuckles. Ava stared at it for 1 second longer than she should have. Her old life stood behind her weeping and whispering and pretending it had not shoved a knife between her ribs. The new one stood in front of her with blood on its hands and a contract in its mouth. Ava placed her hand in Roman's. His fingers closed around hers. Warm. Unyielding. The priest made a sound like he was choking. Roman turned his head. "Father." The priest's face had gone pale beneath the collar. "This is highly irregular." Roman's expression did not change. So was the adultery. "I cannot simply perform another ceremony." Roman looked at him for a long moment. The priest swallowed. "I mean the license." One of Roman's men stepped forward and placed a folded document on the altar. The priest looked at it, then at Roman, then at Ava. Ava did not know what paper had just appeared. She did not ask. Roman's world clearly came with documents that arrived before questions did. The priest's hands shook as he lifted his Bible again. The room had gone beyond shock. It had entered obedience. Ava could feel her mother crying now, could feel her father standing somewhere behind her, frozen between fury and helplessness. She did not turn around. Not yet. She could not carry their pain on top of her own. Roman stood beside her where Ethan had stood minutes before. He did not fidget. He did not perform tenderness. He did not look pleased with himself. The priest cleared his throat. "Do you, Roman DeLuca, take Ava Hart to be your lawfully wedded wife?" Roman looked at Ava. Not at the guests, not at Ethan. Only her. "I do." The words were calm. That made them worse. The priest turned toward Ava. "And do you, Ava Hart, take Roman DeLuca to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Her mouth went dry. For one terrible second, she saw the life she had expected. Sunday mornings with Ethan. Dinner parties. A dog. Maybe children. A kitchen with blue cabinets they had argued about in a furniture store as if the future were already theirs. Then the image changed. Ethan in the closet, Lily's bracelet, Roman's hand around hers. Ava inhaled. "I do," Lily sobbed. Ethan cursed under his breath. Roman glanced down at him. The ring. Ethan stared. Roman waited. Ava felt the entire church watching the last piece of Ethan's role being stripped from him. Slowly, with shaking hands, Ethan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the small velvet box. He opened it and took out the wedding band. His fingers slipped once. The ring fell against the stone with a small, bright sound. No one moved. Ethan picked it up. He held it out to Roman. Roman did not take it immediately. He let Ethan hold it there, arm trembling, face wet with humiliation. Then Roman plucked the ring from his fingers as if removing a dead insect. He turned to Ava. The band was simple white gold, chosen by the man she thought she knew. Roman slid it onto her finger with infuriating care. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. The priest rushed through the final words. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." His voice cracked. "You may kiss the bride." Ava's body went rigid. Roman noticed. Of course he noticed. He stepped closer. The scent of him reached her rein on hot pavement, expensive soap, and something metallic beneath it. Ava forced herself not to retreat. Roman lifted his hand, but he did not touch her face. Instead, he leaned down and pressed his lips lightly to the edge of her cheek, close enough for the crowd to understand, gentle enough to confuse her. His mouth hovered near her ear. "Breathe, Mrs. DeLuca," he murmured. "I do not carry brides unless they faint." A shocked laugh caught in Ava's throat and died there. Roman straightened. Whatever softness had brushed the moment vanished from his face. He turned toward the congregation. "Thank you for attending," he said. "The reception is canceled." No one argued. No one even stood. Roman placed one hand at the small of Ava's back. The touch was light, but it carried command. Ava gathered her dress with one hand and began walking beside him down the aisle. The church remained silent. She passed Ethan's mother, who looked at Ava as if she had committed a crime by surviving her son. She passed her own mother, pale and crying into a handkerchief. She passed her father, whose face was red with pain and rage. Ava's steps faltered. Roman's hand pressed once against her back. Not forcing. Anchoring. She kept walking. When they reached the cathedral doors, the cold outside air slipped over her skin. Behind her, Ethan shouted her name. "Ava." She stopped. Roman stopped with her. The cathedral waited. Ava turned halfway. Ethan was still near the altar, no longer kneeling, no longer Groom, no longer anything she had to protect. His hair had fallen into his eyes. His mouth twisted with desperation. "You will regret this," he said. Ava looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was small. It was not kind. "I already regret you." Roman opened the cathedral door. Charleston sunlight spilled over the steps, bright and ordinary and cruel. Outside, cars moved along the street. A woman walked past with a paper coffee cup. Somewhere nearby, bells rang the hour as if time had not just split itself open. At the curb waited a black armored SUV. One of Roman's men opened the back door. Ava paused at the top of the steps, her white dress heavy around her feet. Ethan's ring cold on her finger. Roman's name settling over her like smoke. Roman looked down at her. "This is the last moment you can walk away." Ava glanced back at the church, then at the street. then at the man who had offered her a cage and called it protection. She stepped into the SUV. Roman followed, and the door closed with a deep final sound that swallowed the cathedral whole. The black SUV pulled away from St. Augustine's Cathedral with Ava Hart sitting in the back seat beside a man she had married less than 5 minutes ago. Charleston moved past the tinted windows in bright, careless pieces. Sunlit sidewalks, iron balconies, tourists with shopping bags, a boy on a bicycle weaving between parked cars. The city had no idea that Ava's life had just split in two behind the doors of an old church. Inside the vehicle, the silence was so complete it felt sealed. The door had shut with a deep armored weight, cutting off the sound of Ethan shouting her name from the cathedral steps. Ava did not turn to look through the back window. She kept both hands folded in her lap, fingers stiff Ethan's wedding band, cold against her skin. No, not Ethan's wedding band. Her wedding band now. The thought nearly made her laugh, but nothing came out. Roman DeLuca sat beside her with one ankle crossed over the other, already reading something on a black tablet. His jacket sleeve had shifted enough to reveal a silver watch worth more than Ava's car. He looked untouched by the chaos they had just walked through. No sweat at his temples, no tremor in his hands. No sign that he had overturned a wedding, exposed a thief, married a stranger, and canceled a reception in the span of 15 minutes. Ava stared at him until he spoke without looking up. "You can take the pins out." Her hand moved to her hair before she could stop it. The twist at the back of her head felt like a punishment. She found the first bobby pin and pulled. A sharp little ache loosened across her scalp. She dropped the pin into the cup holder between them. Click. Another pin. Click. Another. Click. The sounds were tiny, but in the quiet vehicle, they landed like a countdown. Roman's eyes stayed on the tablet. Ava watched the city blur beyond the glass. The battery gave way to traffic to bridges to long stretches of water flashing silver beneath the afternoon sun. Her body began to notice things now that the adrenaline was thinning. The corset cutting into her ribs, the raw skin beneath one strap, the ache in her calves, the bruise forming where Ethan had grabbed her wrist. She looked down. 4 faint red marks circled her skin. Roman's gaze shifted. Only once. Only briefly. Then returned to the tablet. Ava pulled another pin free harder than necessary. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Home." The word settled between them like a stone. "Your home," she said. "Our home," Roman corrected, "for the duration of the agreement." Ava turned her head toward him. "We do not have an agreement. We have a public crime scene with vows." Roman touched the screen once. "You said 1 year. Separate rooms, no unwanted touch, no lies about danger." I agreed. "That was not a contract." "No," he said. "It was better. It was witnessed." Ava looked back out the window. She hated that his calm made her feel louder. They drove out of the city toward Mount Pleasant, then beyond it past the neat neighborhoods and into a quieter stretch where live oaks bent low over the road. Spanish moss hung from their limbs like gray lace. The marsh opened on both sides, green and gold beneath the sinking sun, beautiful in the way dangerous things sometimes were. Roman's phone vibrated. He answered it with one word. "Speak." Ava did not hear the voice on the other end, but she watched Roman's face. It did not change. Not when he listened. Not when he glanced toward her. Not when he said, "Take everything from the condo. Clothes, documents, electronics. Leave anything that belongs to Brooks on the curb." Ava's stomach tightened. "That is my apartment." Roman ended the call. It was leased under his name. "My things are there. They will be here by morning. Ethan has keys." Roman looked at her then fully. Ethan no longer has access to anything that matters. The sentence was quiet. It should have comforted her. It did not. The SUV turned off the main road onto a private lane hidden between trees. Cameras stood discreetly among the branches. Ava counted 3 before she stopped counting. At the end of the lane, black iron gates rose between brick pillars, each one topped with a stone lion darkened by weather. The gates opened before the vehicle stopped. Beyond them stood Roman DeLuca's estate. It was not a mansion in the soft southern sense. No white columns, no sweeping porch, no charming shutters or flower beds. The house was all dark stone glass steel and clean lines set low against the marsh like it had grown there to watch and never be seen. Warm light glowed from inside, but it did not make the place welcoming. It made it look awake. The SUV stopped beneath a covered entrance. One of Roman's men opened Ava's door. She gathered the heavy skirt of her wedding dress and stepped down onto pale gravel. Her heels sank slightly. The air smelled of salt water, cut grass, and rain waiting somewhere beyond the horizon. Roman came around the vehicle but did not offer his arm. He waited. That was different. Not kindness, not exactly, but not indifference either. Ava lifted her chin and walked beside him toward the front doors. Inside the house was cool and silent. The floor was polished gray stone. The walls were bare except for a few large abstract paintings in dark colors. Floor-to-ceiling windows faced the marsh where the tall grass moved in the wind like something alive beneath the glass. A woman stood in the foyer as if she had been placed there hours ago and had not moved since. She looked to be in her early 60s with silver hair twisted into a low knot and a charcoal dress buttoned to the throat. Her posture was severe. Her eyes, pale blue and sharp, moved over Ava, once taking in the torn calm, the ruined makeup, the dress. The ring. Nothing in her face changed. "Mr. DeLuca," she said. Evelyn Roman replied, "This is my wife, Ava." "My wife." The words struck Ava harder in the quiet house than they had in the church. Evelyn inclined her head. "Mrs. DeLuca." Ava almost corrected her. She did not know what she would have said. Roman removed his cufflinks and placed them in a small silver tray on the console table. "Put her in the primary suite. Have a team retrieve her belongings from the condo. Anything personal comes here. Anything belonging to Brooks stays behind." "Yes, sir." Ava found her voice. "I can pack my own things." Roman looked toward the hallway. "No." Her anger flared. "No." His eyes returned to her. "You were married in public to me less than an hour ago. Ethan Brooks stole from my family. He humiliated you. He may panic. He may drink. He may do something stupid. Until I know which kind of desperate he becomes, you do not go near him." Ava wanted to argue. The bruise on her wrist pulsed. She hated that too. Evelyn stepped aside. "This way, Mrs. DeLuca." Ava followed her up a wide floating staircase made of dark wood and glass. Her dress dragged behind her, whispering over the steps like a reluctant ghost. At the top, the hallway stretched long and quiet. No family photographs, no crooked frames, no evidence of childhood laughter holidays or ordinary human mess. The primary suite sat at the end. Evelyn opened the door. Ava stepped inside and stopped. The room was enormous, but it felt less like a bedroom than a luxury hotel suite no one had ever slept in. A low bed with charcoal linens, black marble fireplace, a wall of glass overlooking the marsh, a sitting area arranged too perfectly. No books on the nightstand, no abandoned tie over a chair, no scent of anyone living here except expensive soap and cold air. "The bath is through there," Evelyn said. "Fresh towels are inside. I will bring water and something simple to eat." "I'm not hungry. You will be." Ava looked at her. For the first time, Evelyn's expression softened by the smallest degree. "Shock lies, ma'am. The body eventually tells the truth." Then she left. The door closed. Ava stood in the middle of the room, wrapped in white satin and silence. For a long moment, she did not move. Then she looked down at her hand. The ring caught the light. Ethan's ring. Roman's wife. Lily's bracelet. Her father's face. Her mother crying in the front pew. It all came at once. Ava sat hard on the edge of the bed. The first sob tore out of her so violently that she folded over her own lap. One hand flew to her mouth as if she could force the sound back inside. It did not work. Another sob followed, then another. Her shoulders shook. The dress crushed against her ribs. Her careful hair fell around her face in loose, broken strands. She cried for Ethan, but not only for him. She cried for every dinner where she had smiled at Lily across the table while Lily knew. Every morning Ethan kissed her forehead and went to make calls he did not want her to hear. Every hour she had spent choosing flowers, seating charts, vows, songs, imagining a life while the people closest to her quietly hollowed it out. She cried for the woman in the mirror who had looked perfect. She cried because perfection had never protected anyone. By the time the tears stopped, her throat hurt. Her face felt swollen. The room had darkened around the windows, the marsh outside turning black beneath the evening sky. Ava stood unsteadily. She needed the dress off. The thought became urgent. The satin was too heavy, the lace too tight, the corset too cruel. She reached behind her back for the zipper hidden beneath a row of pearl buttons. Her fingers brushed fabric, then nothing. She twisted, winced, tried again. The dress held her in place like it wanted to keep her. Panic rose sharp and sudden. "No," she whispered. She pulled harder. The lace scraped her shoulder. A pin or hook caught her skin. She tried to breathe and could not get enough air through the rigid bodice. The door opened. Ava spun, clutching the front of the dress. Roman stood in the doorway, holding a glass of water. For a second, neither of them spoke. His gaze moved over her face, her half-fallen hair, the red marks on her shoulders, the frantic angle of her arm behind her back. Something unreadable passed through his eyes. "I can't get it off," Ava said. The humiliation of it burned hotter than the tears. Roman entered and set the glass on the nightstand. "Turn around." Ava hesitated. His face remained still. "You said no unwanted touch. I am asking." That made it worse somehow, because it was decent, because it came from him. Ava turned. She felt him step closer. The air changed behind her, warmed by his body. His fingers touched the nape of her neck only long enough to move her loose hair aside. No lingering, no performance. No pretending this was romantic. "Breathe in," he said. She did. His hand gripped the zipper. With one firm pull, he drew it down her back. The sound of the metal teeth parting was shockingly loud. The pressure around her ribs released all at once. Ava exhaled. The relief was so intense her knees nearly softened. Roman stepped back immediately. "There is a robe in the bathroom," he said, "and clothes on the chair within the hour." Ava kept one hand pressed against the front of the dress. "Why are you being careful?" Roman paused at the door. She looked over her shoulder at him. "You ruin men during weddings. You bring legal documents to churches. You order people around like the world was built to obey you, but you ask before touching a zipper." Roman's expression remained unreadable. Control is not the same as appetite. Ava absorbed that. It was not comfort, but it was information. "Why me?" she asked. The question had been waiting in her chest since the altar. Roman's hand rested on the doorknob. Because every woman I know would have asked what the arrangement was worth before asking what it would cost. And I didn't. You asked for truth. Ava looked down at the loosened dress, at the white satin gathered against her body. That does not make me special. No, Roman said. It makes you useful. The word hit cold. Then he added quieter and harder to buy. He left before she could answer. Ava stood there for a long time after the door closed. Later, Evelyn brought food. Ava barely touched. Then a soft black robe, cotton clothes, and tea that smelled faintly of mint. Ava showered in a bathroom larger than her old living room, watching gray water swirl at her feet as mascara, hairspray, sweat, and church dust disappeared down the drain. The wedding dress was gone when she came back out. For a moment, she hated that someone had taken it. Then she realized she had no desire to see it again. Sleep came hard and sudden. When Ava woke, morning light cut pale lines across the ceiling. For 10 seconds, she did not remember. Then everything returned. The closet, the church, Roman, Mrs. DeLuca. She sat up, breath-catching. Someone had left clothes folded on the chair near the window. Black leggings, a cream sweater, simple underthings with tags still attached. No note, no explanation. Ava dressed slowly. Her body ached in strange places as if grief had weight and had slept on top of her all night. Downstairs, the house was already awake. She could feel it in the quiet movement behind walls, the distant sound of doors closing, the low murmur of men speaking somewhere outside. She followed the smell of coffee to the kitchen. Roman sat at the end of a long marble island, dressed in a dark gray suit with no tie, his laptop open, a cup of black coffee beside him. He did not look surprised to see her. "You are late," he said. Ava glanced at the wall clock. It was 7:03. "I was widowed from my old life yesterday. Forgive the delay." Roman closed the laptop. A pause. Then the faintest movement at his mouth. "Coffee is there. Eggs are on the stove." Ava poured coffee from a silver carafe. It was strong and bitter enough to wake the dead. She sat 2 stools away from him. Roman slid a thick folder across the marble. The sound made her stomach tighten. "What is this, your new life?" Ava opened it. Inside were documents arranged with terrifying precision. A certified copy of the marriage license, security clearance forms, banking papers, a temporary identification request under the name Ava DeLuca, a trust document listing an amount of money so large she read it twice and still did not understand it. Beneath those was a contract. Ava's fingers stilled. Roman watched her read. The marriage would last 1 year. Public appearances were required. Disclosure of the arrangement was forbidden unless mutually agreed. Ava would have private quarters, personal security, and unrestricted access to her own trust after the term ended. No physical intimacy was required or implied. Any threat involving Ava's safety had to be disclosed to her directly. She looked up. "You put that in writing. You asked for it. I asked in a church while angry. I prefer angry people. They are usually more honest." Ava turned the page. There was a second section titled Personal History. She read the first line and gave a humorless laugh. "We met 6 months ago at a coffee shop." Roman lifted his cup. "You spilled iced coffee on my shoes." "I did, apparently. And you were charmed by my apology." "Deeply." Ava stared at him. "You do know you have the emotional range of a locked door. Then my devotion will appear subtle." Despite herself, Ava almost smiled. Almost. She looked down at the false history again. Secret meetings. Quiet courtship. Ava ending a troubled engagement before marrying Roman impulsively but sincerely. The lie was clean. Close enough to truth to survive pressure. "Who do I have to convince?" she asked. Roman's expression changed. The faint, dry humor disappeared. "My grandfather, Vincent DeLuca." Ava remembered the name from whispers attached to older, darker stories. Roman continued. He controls the final family trusts tied to the Charleston port contracts. He refuses to transfer authority until he believes I am settled. Settled, Ava repeated. Married, disciplined, less likely to die without an heir. That is charming. He is not charming. Ava touched the folder, and if he does not believe this, Roman leaned forward, both hands flat on the marble. Then my Uncle Marcus challenges my claim. If Marcus challenges my claim, my people divide. If my people divide the docks, Free's money stops moving and men who rely on that money start making violent choices. The kitchen seemed colder. Ava sat very still. Yesterday, Roman's offer had felt like revenge wrapped in danger. Now she saw the rest of it. Not a bargain. A battlefield. You married me into a war, she said. Roman did not deny it. Yes, the honesty should have made her angry. It did. It also kept her seated. Ava closed the folder. I have one more rule. Roman's eyes narrowed slightly. Name it. You do not use my family. He watched her. My parents are civilians. They do not become leverage. They do not get followed. They do not get threatened. They do not get pulled into whatever this is. Roman's voice was low. No one touches your parents. I need more than that. You have my word. Ava held his gaze. In your world, is that worth anything? Roman stood buttoning his jacket. To the right people, everything. He picked up his phone and laptop. Memorize the history. Evelyn will bring in a stylist at noon. Dinner with Vincent is tomorrow evening. Ava's fingers tightened around the coffee mug. Tomorrow. Roman looked at her from the doorway. My grandfather respects strength. Marcus searches for weakness. Do not offer either man the wrong thing. Ava lifted her chin. And what do I offer you? For the first time that morning, Roman looked fully at her. Not at the contract, not at the usefulness of her. Her. The truth, he said. Then he walked out, leaving Ava alone in the bright, silent kitchen with a new name, a false love story, and the growing certainty that the cage she had entered was not locked from only one side. By noon, the house had learned Ava's measurements. She had not given them to anyone. That was the first thing she noticed when Evelyn opened the door to the primary suite and entered with two women carrying garment bags, black cases, and the quiet fear of people paid very well to ask no questions. Ava stood near the windows in bare feet, the contract still open on the low table behind her. She had read it 3 times. The words did not get warmer with repetition. 1 year. Public devotion. Private truth. No physical obligation. Protection. Silence. Money. Ava had spent her whole adult life reading fine print before signing anything. Apartment leases, client agreements, insurance forms, every careful little document that kept a person from being taken advantage of. Roman's contract was different. It did not hide the danger. It placed it neatly in the center of the page and waited for her to admit she saw it. Evelyn crossed the room and set a small tray on the table. Tea, she said. You barely touched breakfast. I'm not hungry. You said that last night. I meant it both times. Evelyn gave her a look that somehow managed to be polite and unimpressed. The body is not interested in your pride, ma'am. Ava almost smiled. Almost. The older woman turned to the 2 stylists. This is Mrs. DeLuca. She is to look elegant, restrained, and untouchable. One of the women unzipped a garment bag. Emerald silk spilled into the room like liquid shadow. Ava stared at it. No white, Evelyn said. Ava's throat tightened. Good. The dress looked simple from the front. High neckline, long sleeves, clean waist, no glitter, no lace, no bridal softness. but when the stylist turned it, Ava saw the back open almost to the base of the spine. She folded her arms. "No." Evelyn's silver brows lifted. "No, ma'am. That is not a dress. That is a trap with sleeves. It is a message. To whom?" The answer came from the doorway. To Marcus. Roman stood there in a charcoal suit and black shirt, no tie, one hand resting loosely in his pocket. He looked as if he had been carved out of the house itself, dark, still expensive, and difficult to damage. Ava's body reacted before her mind could stop it. Not fear, exactly. Awareness. A tightening under her ribs, a heat at the base of her throat. She hated that he noticed. Roman always noticed. Evelyn stepped aside, but she did not leave. Ava looked at him through the reflection in the window. "Does your uncle usually communicate through evening wear, when he wants a woman to feel small?" "Yes." "And this is supposed to make me feel large." Roman walked into the room. The stylists pretended to organize their cases. Evelyn pretended not to watch everything. "Marcus expects you to arrive looking like a mistake I made in anger," Roman said. "A humiliated civilian bride. Fragile. Ashamed. Easy to provoke." Ava glanced at the dress again. "And this says what Roman stopped beside her. That you have nothing to hide." Ava turned toward him. "My back is literally out." His gaze moved to her face, not the dress. "Exactly." The silence held one beat too long. Ava looked away first. The fitting took nearly an hour. Pins grazed her sides. Silk whispered over her skin. The women moved around her with careful hands and lowered eyes. Ava stood on a small platform before 3 mirrors and tried not to think about the last time strangers had arranged her body for a man's approval. This was different, she told herself. It did not feel different enough. Roman stayed near the window, speaking quietly into his phone, watching the motor court below. He did not stare. That helped. It also annoyed her. When the dress was finally fitted, the stylists stepped back. Evelyn's expression softened by one precise degree. "There," she said. Ava looked in the mirror. The woman staring back at her did not look like yesterday's bride. The emerald silk made her skin seem warmer, her dark hair sharper, her eyes brighter against the faint shadows underneath them. The dress did not beg to be loved. It demanded distance. Roman ended his call. For a second, his expression changed. It was not hunger, not exactly. It was recognition, as if he had given someone a weapon and found she knew how to hold it. Ava touched the sleeve. "I do not feel like myself." "Good," Roman said. She turned. His voice was quieter now. "The version of you they expect is easier to kill." Ava should have found that offensive. Instead, she found herself standing taller. The drive to Vincent DeLuca's estate began just after sunset. Rain fell lightly over Charleston, turning the streets glossy and blurred. Ava sat beside Roman in the back of the SUV, hands folded in her lap, trying not to rub the ring on her finger. She failed. Roman looked up from his phone. "Stop touching it." Ava let go of the ring. "I hate it. I know. Then why am I still wearing it? Because it supports the story. The wedding was sudden, emotional, impulsive. You kept the ring because sentiment makes people believe things reason would question." Ava looked down at the small white gold band. "Sentiment," she said. "That is one word for it." Roman slid his phone into his jacket. "What would you call it? A souvenir from the worst decision I almost made. Then let it remind you not to make decisions with your eyes closed." She turned to him. That almost sounded like advice. It was a warning. Of course it was. The SUV crossed a bridge water dark beneath them. Rain tapped lightly against the roof. Ahead, the city lights thinned, replaced by long roads, moss-covered trees, and wide stretches of low-country darkness. Ava looked out the window. "Tell me about Marcus." Roman's face changed, not visibly enough for most people, but Ava had spent years studying clients, investors, difficult men across conference tables. She saw the smallest tightening around his mouth. My father's younger brother, Roman, said, "He believes the family should have passed to him." Why didn't it? Because my grandfather is old, not stupid. Ava waited. Roman looked at the rain-streaked glass. Marcus likes noise, big gestures, easy loyalty, men who clap when he enters a room. He thinks fear and respect are the same thing. And you don't. Fear is rented. Respect is owned. Ava studied his profile. And what do you have? Roman looked back at her. Enough of both. The SUV turned through a set of massive iron gates. Ava had thought Roman's estate looked intimidating, but Vincent DeLuca's house felt older, heavier, soaked in memory and money that had never needed to explain itself. It rose beyond a long drive lined with live oaks, a sprawling white mansion with black shutters, wide columns and warm yellow light glowing behind tall windows. Rain slipped from the roof in silver threads. Beautiful, Ava thought. Then she saw the guards near the porch and changed the word. Controlled. Roman stepped out first. He did not offer his hand. He did something stranger. He waited until the guard had opened her door, then moved half a step closer, placing his body between her and the open darkness of the lawn. Ava noticed. She wished she had not. Shoulders back, Roman said quietly, "I know. Do not look down. I know that too. Marcus will try to make you angry." Ava glanced at him. He should have gotten to me before yesterday. Something that might have been approval moved across Roman's face. They climbed the front steps together. At the door, Roman offered his arm. Ava looked at it. For show, she asked. For balance, he said. The marble gets slick. She took his arm. His body was warm through the sleeve of his jacket, solid, unmoved by the rain, the house, the men watching them from the porch. The door opened before they reached it. A butler in a black suit bowed his head. "Mr. DeLuca." Roman did not answer. He guided Ava inside. The foyer smelled of polished wood, cigar smoke, roasted garlic, and old flowers. A crystal chandelier hung above them, throwing fractured light over the marble floor. Portraits lined the walls. Stern men in dark suits, women with pearls and unsmiling mouths. Children posed like heirs before they were old enough to know what inheritance cost. Ava felt their painted eyes on her. Roman's hand settled briefly over hers, where it rested on his arm. A pulse. Nothing more. Still, her breathing steadied. The dining room waited at the end of a long hallway. Only 3 people were inside. At the head of the table sat Vincent DeLuca. He was smaller than Ava expected, frail in the way very old men could be, shoulders curved, skin thin, silver hair combed back from a lined face. A clear oxygen tube rested beneath his nose, and one spotted hand lay on the head of a carved black cane. But his eyes were Roman's, dark, sharp, alive with suspicion. Near the fireplace stood Marcus DeLuca, a broad man in his late 50s with slick gray hair and a smile too smooth to trust. His suit was expensive, but slightly loud, deep navy, with a silk pocket square the color of blood. He held a glass of whiskey and looked Ava over as if she were an item delivered for inspection. A third person sat near Vincent. A woman with white hair, heavy diamonds, and a face as still as a marble saint. Roman had not mentioned her. Vincent spoke first. "You are late." Roman released Ava's arm but remained close. 7 minutes. At my age, 7 minutes is an insult. Roman lowered his head slightly. "Then I apologize, nonno." Vincent's eyes moved to Ava. The room grew quieter. "So," Vincent said, "this is the bride." Ava stepped forward before Roman could answer for her. "Yes, sir." Vincent's gaze moved from her face to the ring on her hand, then back again. Not Italian. No, sir. Catholic Ava heard Marcus laugh softly into his glass. Raised Methodist, she said. Currently undecided. Vincent's eyebrows rose. About God. About whether he has a sense of humor. For one frightening second, no one moved. Then Vincent made a rough sound that might have been the beginning of a laugh. Marcus's smile thinned. Roman did not look at her, but she felt his attention sharpen. Vincent tapped his cane once against the floor. Sit. Roman pulled out the chair to Vincent's right. Ava sat. Roman took the chair beside her close enough that his knee almost brushed hers beneath the table. Marcus sat across from them. The older woman remained silent, watching Ava over the rim of her wineglass. Dinner began with soup served in porcelain bowls thin enough to see light through. Ava did not taste it. She was too aware of the room, the servants moving soundlessly. Marcus's gaze, Vincent's breathing, Roman's stillness beside her. Marcus set down his spoon. I must say, Ava, the family was surprised. Ava lifted her eyes. I imagine so. One does not expect Roman to marry at all, much less in such a theatrical fashion. Roman said nothing. Ava remembered his warning. Marcus wanted anger. She gave him calm. Weddings do bring out surprises. Marcus smiled, especially when the bride changes grooms before the flowers wilt. Ava's hand tightened around her spoon. Beside her, Roman's posture shifted by a fraction. Ava placed her left hand lightly on the table ring, visible fingers relaxed. My original groom was having sex with my maid of honor in a storage closet while my father waited to walk me down the aisle, she said. I did not change grooms, Mr. DeLuca. I corrected an error. The older woman's glass paused near her mouth. Vincent watched Ava without blinking. Marcus's smile held, but his eyes cooled. How efficient of you. I work in marketing. We learn to identify bad investments quickly. Roman looked down at his wine. It was almost nothing, but Ava saw it. He was hiding a smile. Vincent leaned back, and Roman was a better investment. Ava turned to him. No. The answer surprised the room. Even Roman looked at her now. Ava continued. Roman was honest about the cost. Vincent's expression changed. Not approval. Interest. Honesty is not a word often placed near my grandson. No, sir. I imagine most people prefer easier words, such as dangerous, cold, ruthless. Vincent's mouth twitched. And what word do you prefer? Ava felt Roman beside her, silent as a blade. She thought of the church, his offer, the contract, the way he had asked before touching the zipper of her dress, the way he had put her safety into writing because she had demanded truth while furious and shaking. Exact, Ava said. Vincent stared. Marcus looked annoyed. The older woman finally spoke. Interesting choice. Her voice was smooth southern and edged with steel. Roman turned slightly. Ava, this is my Aunt Celeste. Ava inclined her head. Mrs. DeLuca. Celeste's smile did not reach her eyes. Not for many years, dear. My husband had the poor manners to die young. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was impossible when alive and very peaceful afterward. Ava almost laughed, then realized Celeste was not joking. The next course arrived roasted fish with lemon herbs and bitter greens. Ava forced herself to eat. The wine was dark and heavy. She took only one sip. She needed her head clear. Marcus leaned back in his chair. So tell us how you met our Roman. Ava felt the floor drop beneath the question. The false history sat in her mind neat and rehearsed. Coffee shop, iced coffee, his shoes, 6 months, quiet courtship, a messy engagement ending. She could recite it. Instead, she let herself remember the shape of it, not the exact words. At a coffee shop on King Street, Ava said. I spilled iced coffee on his shoes. Marcus looked at Roman. Did you? Roman did not blink. She apologized like she expected me to sue her. Ava turned to him. You looked like you might. You ruined Italian leather. You survived. Barely. Vincent watched them carefully. Ava felt the test inside the silence. Not the story. The rhythm. A lie told by two people often failed in the spaces between words. So she leaned into the truth beneath the lie. I was still engaged, she said, and unhappy in the quiet way that lets you pretend everything is fine if nobody asks directly. The table stilled. Roman's eyes shifted to her. I did not plan on anything. Ava continued. I did not plan on Roman. I did not plan on leaving Ethan. I definitely did not plan on marrying into a family where dinner feels like a courtroom. Vincent's cane tapped once. Marcus said, and yet, here you are. Ava met his gaze. Yes. Why? There it was. No decoration. The real question. Ava put down her fork. Because yesterday I learned that being polite does not protect you. Being loyal to the wrong person does not make them worthy. And being humiliated in public is only the end of your life if you agree to stay on the floor. The room went so quiet she could hear the rain against the windows. Ava looked at Vincent. Roman offered me a way to stand up. Vincent studied her. And do you love him? Roman did not move. Ava's heart struck once hard. The prepared answer was yes. Of course. A wife said yes. But Vincent was too sharp for a soft lie. Ava lifted her chin. I do not know him well enough to lie beautifully about love. Marcus smiled. Roman's hand beneath the table curled against his knee. Ava continued before anyone could speak. But I know what I saw. I saw every man in that church panic when Roman entered except Roman. I saw Ethan beg. I saw lies fall apart around him without Roman raising his voice. I saw a man who did not pretend to be gentle in public while being rotten in private. Her voice softened. I have spent 3 years mistaking performance for devotion. I am finished worshiping pretty words. Vincent's eyes narrowed. So what do you offer? My grandson Ava felt the answer rise from somewhere darker than rehearsal. The one thing nobody in this family seems to trust. Celeste leaned forward slightly. And what is that? The truth when it is inconvenient. Roman looked at her then. Fully. The room blurred for half a second around the force of it. Marcus broke the moment with a laugh. Very moving. Truly. But let's not confuse heartbreak with loyalty. A woman scorned will say anything if revenge is close enough to taste. Ava turned toward him. That sounds like experience. Marcus's eyes hardened. Vincent made another rough sound, almost amused. Marcus set down his glass. Careful, sweetheart. You are still a guest in this house. Ava smiled. No. I am family now. That appears to be the problem. The words landed. Roman did not rescue her from them. He let them stand. That did something to Ava's spine, straightened it, strengthened it. Vincent began to cough. It came from deep in his chest, harsh and wet. Celeste reached for his glass, but he waved her off. The coughing became a laugh, thin but unmistakable. She has teeth, Vincent said. Marcus looked away. Vincent pointed his cane toward Ava. Too thin, too pale, angry enough to bite through steel. I like her. Ava breathed for the first time in what felt like several minutes. Roman reached for his wine. His sleeve brushed her wrist. It was not accidental. Vincent looked at Roman. You chose strangely. Roman's voice was calm. I chose well. Ava kept her eyes on her plate. The words should not have mattered. They did. Dinner continued, but the balance had shifted. Marcus spoke mostly to Roman now, dragging the conversation toward port contracts, customs inspections, delayed containers, labor disputes. Ava listened. She did not understand all of it, but she understood tone. Marcus kept presenting problems as accidents. Roman kept answering as if he knew which accidents had been arranged. There was another inspection in Charleston Harbor, Marcus said. 3rd this month. Roman cut into his fish. I know. Do you... Because people are getting nervous. People are always nervous when they have something to hide. Marcus's smile was thin. And do your people have something to hide? Roman looked at him. My people follow instructions. Ava noticed Vincent watching both men through narrowed eyes. This was not dinner. It was a board meeting with knives under the table. Celeste turned to Ava while the men exchanged quiet threats, dressed as logistics. And your work? Dear Ava blinked. My work. You had a life before yesterday, I assume? The question was not kind, but it was not cruel either. I'm a marketing strategist. For what sort of company? A boutique agency downtown. Mostly hospitality, real estate, luxury services. Marcus's eyes flicked toward her. Real estate? How unfortunate. Ava ignored him. Celeste said, So, you sell illusions? Ava considered that. No. I study what people want to believe, then decide how close the truth can get before they look away. Celeste smiled for the first time. A real smile. Roman, she said you may have married someone useful after all. Ava did not know whether to be pleased or insulted. Roman said I was aware. His voice was neutral, but Ava felt the praise beneath it hidden deep enough that he might deny it if confronted. After dessert, Vincent dismissed the table with a tired movement of his hand. Roman rose first. Ava stood beside him. Vincent caught her wrist lightly as she passed his chair. His fingers were cold thin, but the grip still carried command. Ava looked down, the old man's dark eyes fixed on hers. My grandson does not do soft things, Vincent said quietly. Ava said nothing. He will protect what carries his name. That is not the same as cherishing it. Ava held his gaze. I know. Do you? She thought of the contract, the separate rooms, the way Roman's hand had steadied her back in the church, the way he spoke of danger like weather. No, she admitted. But I am learning. Vincent released her wrist. Good. Learn fast. In the hallway, Marcus intercepted her while Roman spoke briefly with Celeste near the dining room doors. Ava saw him coming in the reflection of a darkened window. You performed well, Marcus said. She turned. Performed? Please. No woman marries Roman DeLuca for romance unless she has suffered a head injury. Ava folded her hands in front of her. Then you should find my judgment reassuring. Marcus stepped closer. He smelled of whiskey, bergamot, and expensive smoke. You think because Vincent laughed you passed. You didn't. You entertained him. There is a difference. Ava kept her face still. I will try to be more boring next time. His smile vanished. Women like you always misunderstand danger. You think standing near it makes you powerful. No, Ava said. I think surviving it makes me observant. Marcus's voice lowered. Observe this, then. Roman collects useful things. Men, secrets, debts. Now you. The moment you stop being useful, you become weight. Ava felt the words strike somewhere tender. She did not let him see it. Is that what happened to you? Marcus's eyes darkened. Ava had gone too far. She knew it before he moved. He did not touch her, but his body angled closer, trapping her between the wall and a narrow table holding a vase of white lilies. "Careful," he said softly. "A sharp mouth is charming at dinner. In private it gets corrected." Ava's pulse beat in her throat. Then Roman's voice cut through the hallway. "Step back." Marcus turned slowly. Roman stood a few feet away. He had not raised his voice, but the air changed at once. Celeste lingered behind him, watching with cool interest. Marcus smiled again, but it looked strained now. "We were only getting acquainted." Roman walked closer. "You are acquainted." The two men stared at each other. Ava understood then that Marcus did not fear Roman the way Ethan had. Marcus hated him too much for clean fear. That made him more dangerous. Marcus stepped back. "Enjoy your bride, Roman." Roman's expression did not move. Marcus's gaze shifted to Ava. "Enjoy the house, Mrs. DeLuca. Beautiful cages are still cages." He walked away. Ava released a breath she had not realized she was holding. Roman looked at her. "Did he touch you? No. Did he threaten you?" Ava looked down the hall where Marcus had disappeared. "He educated me." Roman's jaw tightened. "That sounds like yes." Ava met his eyes. "I handled it. I saw." And a pause. Then Roman said, "You handled it." The words were plain. They warmed her anyway. On the drive back, the rain came harder. The SUV moved through sheets of water headlights, cutting tunnels through the dark. Ava sat with her shoes abandoned on the floor mat, feet aching, shoulders sore from holding herself upright for hours. Roman sat beside her silent. Not working this time. Just thinking. Ava watched the reflection of his face in the window, the cut of his jaw, the shadow beneath his eyes. The man who could turn a cathedral silent and still notice when her hand shook under a dinner table. "You didn't tell me about Celeste," Ava said. "She decides things without appearing to decide them. That is not an answer. It is the most accurate answer." Ava leaned her head back against the seat. "Your family is exhausting." "Yes. Vincent likes me. For now. Marcus hates me. Marcus hates anything he cannot predict." "And you?" Roman turned his head. The question had escaped before she could soften it. Rain moved over the windows in silver lines. "What about me?" he asked. Ava's fingers curled around the edge of the seat. "Can you predict me?" His gaze stayed on hers. No. She should not have liked that. The silence deepened. Ava looked away, first toward the rain, toward the dark road unspooling ahead of them. Then she remembered Ethan. Not the man she had loved. Not the groom at the altar. The thief Roman had come to collect. The man whose whole false life had been built with money stolen from the kind of people who did not forgive. Ava's stomach tightened. At dinner, Vincent had said one thing she had not been able to stop hearing. Make an example of him. Roman had not argued. He had simply nodded. Ava turned back to him. "What did you do to Ethan?" Roman's face went still. Not surprised, not confused. Still. Outside, the rain struck the roof harder, filling the silence between them until it sounded almost like applause. Roman did not answer immediately. The question stayed between them, sharp and breathing. Ava watched his face in the faint amber light inside the SUV. Rain slid over the windows, bending the passing streetlights into long, broken streaks. The city had disappeared behind them, swallowed by wet roads and marshland darkness. Only the low hum of the engine and the storm kept the silence from becoming absolute. Roman loosened his tie by a single inch. That was the first sign. Not guilt, not hesitation. Just the smallest adjustment of a man preparing to tell the truth in a language most people could not bear. Ethan's bank accounts were frozen at noon. he said. Ava sat very still. Roman looked out the window, not at her. His business credit lines were revoked by 2:15. His brokerage terminated him before 4. Cause listed as fraud, misuse of client funds, and misrepresentation of assets. Ava's fingers tightened against the seat. You got him fired. I exposed why he should never have been hired. The answer was too clean. Too calm. Roman continued, voice even. The condo lease was under his name. It has been terminated. He received notice tonight. The car was repossessed from outside his mother's house while he was inside telling her you ruined his life. Ava's throat worked. She imagined Ethan in that beautiful gray suit he wore to open houses, standing in his mother's living room, hands in his hair trying to explain how everything had vanished in one afternoon. The image should have satisfied her. Some part of it did. That was the part that frightened her. What else, she asked. Roman turned his head. The shadows made his eyes look black. Every lender in Charleston now knows he is radioactive. Every private investor he approached over the last 6 months received documentation tonight. By morning, every respectable door he knows how to knock on closes before he reaches it. Ava stared at him. You destroyed him. No. Roman's voice remained quiet. I removed the lies holding him up. Gravity did the rest. Ava looked down at the ring on her finger. White gold. Small diamonds. A symbol chosen by a man who had used stolen money to build a stage, then asked her to walk on to it, smiling. The ring suddenly felt heavier than the dress had. What about the debt, she asked. He still owes it. All of it, every cent. He cannot pay you back if you took everything. Roman's expression did not change. That is accurate. Ava let out a breath that sounded too close to a laugh. That does not bother you. No, because you want him afraid. Fear improves memory. Ava looked at him then. Really looked. The controlled posture, the expensive suit, the hands folded with almost religious patience over one knee, the face that did not soften for ruined men. Yesterday, Roman had felt like a weapon pointed at Ethan. Tonight, Ava saw the hand that held the weapon. You said no lies, she said. Roman's gaze stayed on hers. I did. Then tell me if he is going to die. The question changed the air. Not because Roman reacted, because he did not. The SUV moved through the rain with a steady, armored certainty. Finally, he said, Not by my order. Ava heard the space inside the answer. That is not the same as no. No, Roman said. It is not. Her stomach twisted. For one brief second she saw Ethan not in the closet, not at the altar, not as the liar who had grabbed her wrist, but as a man made of bones and panic and blood. Human. Breakable. She hated him. She did not know if she wanted him dead. The difference mattered. Roman watched the conflict move across her face. Do you pity him? He asked. Ava hated the question because it sounded almost gentle. She looked back down at her hands. The rain drummed harder on the roof. She thought of Ethan's whisper through the closet door. Then she can wait. She thought of Lily's bracelet flashing in the dim light. She thought of Ethan at the altar, not ashamed of what he had done, only furious that she had said it where people could hear. She thought of him using her as a shield when Roman arrived. Tell him this is a mistake. Ava closed her eyes. No apology. No remorse. Only performance collapsing into fear. When she opened her eyes again, her voice was barely above a whisper. No. Roman did not smile. Good. The word should have made her feel monstrous. Instead, it landed in her chest like permission. Ava turned toward the window, pressing her forehead lightly against the cool glass. The road outside blurred into black water and pale light. Her reflection looked unfamiliar. Emerald silk, Dark hair pinned low, lips still painted from dinner, Ethan's ring on Roman's wife. "I do not like what that answer says about me," she said. Roman looked ahead. "It says you are honest. It says I am cruel. It says cruelty finally stopped being reserved for everyone else." Ava turned back to him. "That sounds like something a monster would say." Roman's mouth curved not quite a smile. "Yes." The honesty knocked the anger out of her for a moment. She expected denial from men, defense, excuses wrapped in charm. Ethan would have told her she was overreacting, that everything was complicated, that she was emotional, that he loved her, that it did not mean anything. He would have poured sugar over rot and asked her to call it dessert. Roman offered her nothing sweet, only the shape of the blade. The SUV turned through the gates of the DeLuca estate. The house appeared through the rain-dark stone and glass shining under exterior lights. The marsh behind it had vanished into night. Guards stood near the entrance in black coats, faces hidden beneath the downpour. Roman stepped out first. This time he held out his hand. Ava looked at it. So did he. The gesture seemed to surprise him less than it surprised her, but not by much. After a second, Ava placed her hand in his. His palm was warm despite the cold rain. He helped her from the vehicle, his body angled against the weather. Water spotted the shoulders of his suit. Ava's silk dress clung to her legs. Her bare back chilled instantly beneath the open cut of the gown. Roman released her as soon as she was steady. That should not have mattered either. It did. Inside, Evelyn waited in the foyer. Her eyes moved over Ava's face first, then Roman's. "Dinner went well?" she asked. Roman removed his wet jacket. Vincent laughed. Evelyn's brows lifted. "At dinner or at someone's expense?" "Both." "Then yes," she said. "It went well." Ava slipped off her heels near the staircase. Her feet throbbed against the cold stone floor, but the relief was immediate. Evelyn noticed, said nothing, and motioned to a young woman who appeared from somewhere with a pair of soft black slippers. Ava stared at them. "Does everyone in this house read minds?" Evelyn handed her the slippers. "No, ma'am. Only consequences." Roman glanced at Evelyn. "Anything?" The older woman's expression changed. It was slight, but Ava saw it. The shift from household order to something else, something sharper. There was a call from Mr. Calder at the port. He said the inspection hold expanded to 3 additional containers. Roman's jaw tightened. Marcus? Not confirmed. Nothing in this family is unconfirmed. Evelyn inclined her head. Then yes, most likely Marcus. Ava listened from the base of the stairs, slippers in one hand, the other holding the skirt of her dress. Roman looked toward her. "Go upstairs. Sleep." The old version of Ava might have obeyed because the day had been too long and her body was begging for mercy. The woman who had spoken at Vincent DeLuca's table did not move. "You promised truth behind closed doors. This is not closed doors." "Fine." Ava stepped closer, bare feet silent on stone. "Close one." Evelyn's eyes flicked briefly toward Roman. For one long moment, nobody spoke. Then Roman said, "My office." He turned and walked down the hallway. Ava followed. The office sat behind a heavy walnut door near the back of the house. Roman opened it with a code and his thumbprint. Inside the room was warmer than the rest of the estate. Not softer, but warmer. Dark shelves lined with legal volumes, shipping books, old ledgers, and a few framed black and white photographs. A large desk faced the windows beyond which the rain moved over the marsh in silver sheets. On one wall hung a map of Charleston Harbor. Not decorative, strategic. Colored pins marked docks, warehouses, roads, customs buildings, bridges, and private marinas. Red thread connected certain points. Blue marks circled others. On the desk lay folders, photographs, financial records, and printed images from security cameras. Ava stopped near the door. The room smelled like leather, paper coffee, and Roman. It was the first room in the house that felt like him. Not polished for guests. Used. Alive. Roman closed the door behind them. Marcus has been creating pressure at the docks, he said. Inspection delays, labor complaints, insurance questions. Minor problems arranged to become expensive when they happen together. Ava walked closer to the harbor map. Why to make Vincent doubt my control? And if Vincent doubts you, Marcus challenges you. Yes. Ava looked at the pins. You said Marcus thinks fear and respect are the same. He does. So he is creating fear and hoping people mistake it for proof that he matters. Roman stared at her. The silence made Ava look back. What? That is accurate. I told you. I do marketing. Half my job is understanding why insecure men make noise. This time, Roman almost smiled. Almost. Ava moved toward the desk. Then she saw the photograph. Her breath caught. It was printed on matte paper and clipped to the corner of a file. A restaurant patio. Evening. Two men seated at a table partly hidden beneath hanging plants. One was Ethan. The other was Marcus DeLuca. Ava reached for the photograph. Roman's hand covered it first. Not fast enough, she had seen. The old ache opened again, not sharp this time, but deep and spreading. Move your hand, she said. Roman did not. Ava. She lifted her eyes. Move it. Slowly Roman removed his hand. Ava picked up the photograph. Ethan looked relaxed in it, leaning back, smiling that easy smile, one ankle crossed over his knee. Marcus sat opposite him, glass in hand, face turned just enough for the camera to catch his profile. There was a date stamped in the corner. 6 weeks before the wedding. Ava stared until the numbers blurred. You knew. Roman's face remained still. I suspected. You knew Ethan met your uncle, and you did not tell me. I did not have confirmation until tonight. The words slid too smoothly. Ava looked at the folder beneath the photograph and opened it before Roman could stop her. More images. A private club entrance, a hotel lobby, a valet stand, Ethan again, Marcus again. And then in the corner of one photograph, half turned away from the camera, blonde hair shining beneath patio lights, a slim wrist lifted as she passed a phone across the table. Lily. Ava's grip tightened so hard the paper bent. No. Roman said nothing. The room tilted. Ava set one hand on the edge of the desk to keep herself upright. Lily had not just slept with Ethan. Lily had not just broken the most intimate kind of trust on the worst possible day. Lily had been there, in Marcus's orbit, near the money, near the trap. Ava looked up slowly. What is this? Roman's voice was careful now. Evidence that Ethan's theft may not have been his idea. Ava let out a short sound. Not laughter. Not crying. Something in between. Of course it was not, she whispered. Ethan never had original ideas. He stole confidence from richer men and called it ambition. Her eyes dropped back to Lily's face in the photograph. The bracelet was not visible. Not then. Ava was grateful for that. She was not sure she could have survived seeing it twice. Roman stepped closer. Ava, do not say my name like that. Like what? Like I am a glass you are deciding whether to drop. He stopped. The rain struck the windows hard enough to sound like thrown sand. Ava spread the photographs across Roman's desk. Her mind, tired and bruised as it was, began reaching for patterns. Dates, locations, people. Every campaign she had ever built came down to behavior. Who showed up where? Who benefited from what? Who controlled the story before anyone knew there was a story? She pointed to the first image. This is Barrow House. Roman watched her. Yes. Private dining room upstairs. Ethan took me there once after closing a big deal. He acted like he knew the owner. He did not. No. But Lily did. Her cousin worked events there. She moved another photograph. This hotel. The Palmetto Crown. Lily planned a corporate retreat there last year. She knew the staff entrance. Roman came around the desk. "You are certain I'm not certain of anything anymore?" Ava looked at the images again. "But I know access. Lily always had access. To my schedule, to Ethan, to wedding vendors, to guest lists, to who was seated where, to where I would be and when." Her pulse began to climb. "The closet." Roman's gaze sharpened. Ava looked at him. That was too convenient. A betrayal usually is. "No. Listen." She pressed her fingers against her temple, thinking. The storage closet was near the bridal suite, but not on the direct route from the groomsman's room. Ethan would not choose that location unless someone told him it was safe. Roman said nothing. Lily knew my mother was checking flowers. She knew my father was waiting upstairs. She knew I was alone. She knew I would go looking for Ethan if I got anxious enough. The room narrowed around her. Ava could hear Lily's voice from that morning. "You look perfect. Not happy?" "Perfect." Ava swallowed hard. She wanted me to find them. Roman's face changed. The cold in it deepened. Ava looked down at the photograph of Marcus and Ethan. She was not the affair Ava said. She was the door. Roman moved to the map and pulled one blue pin from the harbor. He placed it near a smaller printed timeline on the desk. "Marcus needed Ethan exposed," he said. Ava shook her head. "No. Marcus needed you exposed. Ethan stole from your fund. If he was caught at the right time in the right place at a public wedding, it puts your money, your judgment, your enemies, and me in one room." Roman's eyes locked on hers. Ava kept going because stopping meant feeling. If you came only to collect, the church becomes a story about Roman DeLuca terrorizing civilians. If you did not come, Ethan married me and I became attached to his debt, possibly useful leverage. But you did come. And then you married me. The last words landed differently. Roman was very still. Ava felt the blood leave her face. "Marcus did not plan that part," Roman said. "No," Ava whispered. "That was you." His silence was answer enough. Anger rose hot and clean, cutting through exhaustion. "You saw a ruined woman in a church and made a strategic decision." "Yes." Ava flinched despite herself. Roman did not soften the truth. "I saw a woman betrayed publicly, connected by circumstance to a debt with no loyalty to Ethan, and every reason to want him destroyed. I saw someone Vincent would find difficult to dismiss, and Marcus would underestimate. And that is all I was. At the altar." His eyes held hers. Yes. The word hit like a slap. Ava took one step back. Roman stayed where he was. "I told you I was not a gentleman. I did not ask for gentle," Ava said. "I asked for the truth, and I am giving it to you, after I found the photographs." "Yes." The answer was brutal in its simplicity. Ava hated him for it. She respected him for not decorating it. Both feelings made her sick. She looked again at Lily's image. Her best friend. The girl who knew Ava hated being surprised in public. The woman who had held Ava's hand when Ethan proposed. The woman who had helped choose the flowers Roman said were bought with stolen money. The woman who might have arranged the exact humiliation that made Ava desperate enough to take Roman's hand. Ava pressed both palms flat on the desk. "I want everything you have on Lily." Roman's gaze sharpened. "No." Ava looked up. "No. You are exhausted, angry, and emotionally compromised. That is very rich coming from a man who proposed to me during a felony confrontation." Roman stepped closer. Voice low. "You do not know what it means to go after someone in my world? I am learning fast, not fast enough. Ava moved around the desk until there was nothing between them. The emerald silk whispered around her legs. Her back was cold where the dress opened. Her hands shook, but her voice did not. You made me Mrs. DeLuca in front of 200 people. You put your name on me. You put my name in your contracts. You brought me to Vincent and let Marcus decide I was worth threatening. You do not get to tell me I am inside this only when I am useful and outside it when I ask questions. Roman's jaw tightened. Ava stepped closer. You said I was useful because I wanted the truth. So here is the truth. Ethan was my mistake. Lily was my wound. Marcus used both of them to walk into my life. That makes this mine. Roman's eyes moved over her face. For a moment, Ava thought he might order her out. Then he turned, picked up a folder from the locked drawer of his desk and placed it in front of her. Ava stared at it. What is that? Everything we have on Lily Mercer. Her pulse struck hard. Roman kept his hand on the folder. You read it here. You do not remove it from this office. You do not contact her. You do not answer if she contacts you. You do not make a move without telling me. Ava met his gaze. That sounded like an order. It was. I do not take orders well, I have noticed. His hand lifted from the folder. Ava opened it. The first page was a basic profile. Lily Mercer. Age 29. Event coordinator. Freelance vendor connections across Charleston. Known associations. Financial stress. Credit card debt. Recent cash deposits. Ava read the deposits twice. $10,000, she said. Roman stood beside her. 3 payments, made through a shell account tied to one of Marcus's men. Ava turned the page. Lily had met Marcus 4 times. Ethan 6. 2 meetings overlapped. Ava's name appeared in Roman's notes more than once. Subject likely unaware. Subject emotionally attached to Mercer. Subject schedule exposed through wedding planning access. Subject vulnerability increased near ceremony. Ava's vision blurred. Not from tears, from fury. Subject. That was what she had been. To Marcus. To Roman. To everyone moving pieces around her life while she chose napkin colors. Roman must have seen the page she was reading. That report was written before the church. Ava did not look at him. Does that make it better? No. Good. At least he knew that. She turned another page. There were photos of Lily entering a bank. Lily outside Ethan's condo. Lily at Ava's bridal shower smiling with a mimosa in one hand and Ava's future destruction apparently folded somewhere behind her teeth. Ava closed the folder. She could not look anymore. Not yet. The room had become too warm. I need air. Roman moved toward the door. Ava walked past him before he could open it for her. She went through the hallway, up the stairs, through the primary suite, and out onto the balcony overlooking the marsh. The rain had softened to mist. The night smelled of salt grass and wet stone. Beyond the railing, the marsh stretched black beneath the moon, breathing with insects and distant water. Ava gripped the cold iron rail and inhaled until her lungs hurt. Behind her, Roman stepped outside. He did not speak. For that, she was grateful. They stood in silence long enough for the mist to settle in Ava's hair. Finally, she said, "This house feels like a cage." Roman stood beside her, not touching. "It is." Ava turned her head. Most men would deny that. Most men want to be loved for their lies. And you? Roman looked toward the marsh. I would rather be hated for the truth. Ava studied him. There was no moonlight softness in Roman DeLuca. No secret prince beneath the monster, no easy wound that explained away the damage. He was dangerous because he had chosen to be. Controlled because losing control had once cost him something. Honest because lies were inefficient, not because truth was kind. And still, when he stood beside her, the world felt less likely to strike from behind. That was the most dangerous thing about him. Not the money, not the men, not the name. The way fear changed shape when he was near. Ava looked down at her left hand. Ethan's ring glimmered faintly. She twisted it once. The band resisted. Her finger had swollen slightly from stress heat the long day. She pulled harder. Pain flashed across her knuckle. Roman saw Ava. She ignored him. The ring came free with a sharp little scrape. Ava held it in her palm. Such a small thing for such a large mistake. She placed it on the balcony railing between them. Roman looked at it, then at her. "I do not want to wear his lie anymore," she said. Roman reached into his pocket. Ava stiffened. He noticed and paused. Then he withdrew a plain black handkerchief, picked up the ring without touching her, and folded it inside. "What are you going to do with it?" she asked. "Keep it as evidence." "Of what?" His eyes met hers. "Where you started." Ava should have argued. She did not. A knock sounded from inside the suite. Both of them turned. Evelyn stood near the balcony doors. For the first time since Ava had met her, the older woman looked unsettled. Roman crossed the room before Ava could move. "What is it?" Evelyn looked from Roman to Ava. "There is a package at the gate." Roman's expression hardened. "Screened?" "Yes." "Contents?" Evelyn's mouth tightened. "It is addressed to Mrs. DeLuca." Ava stepped inside. The name struck differently now. Not costume, not performance. Claim. Roman said, "Bring it to my office. It is already there." The three of them moved through the house without speaking. In the office, a small white box sat on Roman's desk. It was tied with a pale ribbon, a wedding ribbon. Ava knew before anyone opened it that it belonged to her old life. Roman put on black gloves. Ava stood across the desk, arms wrapped around herself. He lifted the lid. Inside lay her veil, the same one that had waited on the chair in the bridal suite. Soft tulle, pearl-edged, meant to float behind her as she walked toward Ethan. It had been slashed straight down the center. Pinned to the torn fabric was Lily's gold bracelet. The pearl charm was cracked. Ava forgot how to breathe. Roman removed a small white card from the box. His eyes moved over the words. Then his face changed. Not much. Enough. Ava held out her hand. Roman did not give it to her. "Read it," she said. He looked at her. "Read it." Roman placed the card on the desk and turned it toward her. The handwriting was neat, feminine, and unfamiliar. "You married the wrong monster." Ava stared at the sentence until the letters stopped looking like letters. The room disappeared. All she could see was the veil, the bracelet, the clean little note sitting on Roman's desk like a smile. Something inside her settled. Not healed. Not calm. Settled. The shaking stopped first. Then the nausea. Then the last fragile thread connecting her to the woman who had cried in a locked bridal suite and wondered how she had missed every sign. Ava reached into the box and lifted the bracelet. Roman moved sharply. "Do not touch that." She froze. His voice had changed. Not controlled, not cool. Angry. Real anger. Evelyn stepped closer but stopped when Roman lifted one hand. Ava looked at him. "Why it may be treated. With what I do not know yet." Ava slowly set the bracelet down. Roman's men appeared at the door without being called. Maybe they had been there all along. Roman spoke without looking away from the box. "Lock the gates. Double the exterior patrol. No deliveries without manual clearance. Pull camera footage from the road, the gate, the service entrance, and the marsh line for the last 6 hours. I want the courier found before sunrise." The men vanished. Roman looked at Evelyn. "Move Mrs. DeLuca's parents to the safe list. quietly. Ava's head snapped up. You said no one would touch them. They will not. That is not the same as they are safe. No, he said. It is not. There it was. Truth. Ugly. Immediate. Necessary. Ava gripped the edge of the desk. Is this Marcus? Roman looked at the note. Maybe. Lily. Maybe. Ethan Roman's mouth hardened. Ethan is too busy drowning to decorate the water. Ava almost laughed. The sound did not come. She looked at the torn veil. The symbol was obvious. Bride destroyed. Marriage mocked. Past ripped open and delivered to her new name. But the bracelet made it personal. Lily had wanted her to know. Ava walked around the desk and stood beside Roman. He looked down at her. The air between them felt different now. Less like a contract, more like a line drawn in blood, though none had been spilled in this room. You told me not to contact Lily, Ava said. Yes, I won't. Roman studied her face. But I know her, Ava continued. I know how she thinks when she is scared. I know how she lies. I know what she does when she wants attention and what she does when she wants forgiveness. Roman waited. Ava touched the edge of the card without picking it up. She did not write this. Roman's eyes narrowed. How do you know? She dots her I's with too much pressure. Always has. Her handwriting leans right when she is anxious. This is too careful. Too clean. Someone wants me to feel Lily in it without giving me Lily. Roman looked at the note again. Ava continued. The bracelet is real. The message is staged. Roman was silent for one long beat. Then he said, You are sure? No. Ava looked at him. But I am useful. The words hung between them. Roman's expression shifted. Not amusement, not approval. Something heavier. Yes, he said. You are. This time the word did not feel like an insult. Ava turned toward the harbor map on the wall, then back to the box. Her life had become a table covered in evidence. Ethan's fraud, Lily's betrayal, Marcus's ambition, Roman's offer, Vincent's approval, a torn veil delivered to a locked estate. She could not go backward. The church doors had closed. The SUV had driven away. The cage had a view of the marsh and guards at the gates, but it was still a cage. Ava looked at Roman. I want a new ring. His gaze dropped to her bare finger. Ava. Not for romance. I did not assume romance. Good. Her voice held steady. I want them to know I took off Ethan's. I want Marcus to know his little message did not send me running. I want Lily, or whoever is holding Lily's leash, to know that the bride they tried to break is gone. Roman's eyes darkened. And what do you want the new ring to say? Ava looked at the torn veil one last time. Then she looked back at him. That I chose the monster who tells the truth. The silence that followed was not empty. It was alive. Roman stepped closer slowly enough that she could move away if she wanted. She did not. He took her left hand. His thumb brushed the place where Ethan's ring had scraped her skin. The touch was light, careful, and more intimate than a kiss would have been. Careful, Mrs. DeLuca, he said quietly. Monsters take vows seriously. Ava's pulse moved against his fingers. So do women who have nothing left to lose. Outside the office windows, the rain stopped. The marsh lay black and still beyond the glass. Inside, Roman released her hand, picked up the card, and held it to the light. Ava stood beside him, no longer behind him, no longer waiting for someone else to explain the danger in her own life. The torn veil remained open in the box. The cracked pearl bracelet gleamed against the ruined tool. and on the desk between them the message stared back. You married the wrong monster. Ava looked at Roman DeLuca and felt the last of her fear turn into something colder. Then let's find the right one, she said.